Let's just jump right in with a question that honestly sounds like it's from a sci-fi movie, but it's not. Is it possible for a store, just by looking at what you buy, to figure out you're pregnant before you've even told your own family?
So picture this. A few years back, a guy walks into a Target near Minneapolis, and he is furious. He marches up to the manager, waving around a bunch of coupons that were mailed to his daughter. And the coupons are all for baby clothes, cribs, diapers, you get the idea. He yells, "My daughter's still in high school. Are you trying to encourage her to get pregnant?" And of course, the manager is completely horrified, apologizes all over the place.
But here's the thing. This wasn't some random mistake. Not at all. It turns out Target had hired a data guy, a statistician, to figure out how to predict this stuff. And his team found that it only took about 25 different products, when you looked at them together, to give every female shopper a pregnancy prediction score.
So what were these secret decoder ring products? Well, you'd think they'd be obvious, but a lot of them weren't. For example, they saw that women started buying huge amounts of unscented lotion right around the start of their second trimester. Or they'd suddenly stock up on things like magnesium and zinc supplements. Individually, none of those things scream, "I'm having a baby," but when the algorithm saw them bought together, it told a very specific story.
And this is where the story gets really wild. We go back to that manager in Minneapolis. A few weeks after that super awkward confrontation, his phone rings. It's the same father. Only this time, his tone is completely different. He's actually calling to apologize. He says, "I had a talk with my daughter. It turns out there's been some activities happening in my house I wasn't aware of. She was, in fact, due in August. Target's computer program knew before her own dad did."
That Target story is pretty mind-blowing, right? But it's really just the tip of the iceberg. It's a tiny little window into this huge, mostly invisible system that's constantly tracking, collecting, and analyzing pretty much everything we do.
I mean, think about the digital breadcrumbs you leave behind every single day. Every search you make, every site you visit, every post you like. Your credit card knows what you bought, sure, but also where and exactly when. Your smartphone? It can ping your location up to 14,000 times a day. It's insane. And that's not even counting the data from license plate readers on highways or what your smart home devices are picking up.
So why? Why is all this data being gathered? Well, to put it simply, money. It is a massive business. The market for our personal data is just exploding. Back in 2011, it was worth about $7.6 billion. By 2017, it shot up to $35 billion. And the projection for 2027? Over $100 billion. Our personal lives are, quite literally, the fuel for a huge part of the modern economy.
Apple's CEO Tim Cook put it perfectly. He said, "These scraps of data are carefully assembled, synthesized, traded, and sold." And that's the key right there. It's not about one single data point. Who cares if someone knows you bought unscented lotion? But when these companies, these data brokers you've never even heard of, piece together thousands of those harmless scraps, they can build a profile of you that is shockingly detailed. And then they sell it. You know, this feeling, this kind of creepy sense that you could be watched at any moment, it's not a new thing from the internet age. Actually, there's a name for this idea, and it has a really fascinating history that goes back centuries. It's called the panopticon. It was an idea from this philosopher, Jeremy Bentham. He imagined a new kind of prison. The design was brilliant and kind of terrifying. A single guard could see into any inmate's cell at any time, but the inmates could never know for sure if they were the one being watched at that exact moment. And that uncertainty, that alone would be enough to make them act like they were always being watched.
And here's what that looked like. You have this central tower for the guard, and all the cells are arranged in a circle around it. The guard can see in, but the prisoners can't see the guard. The real power of the design isn't about constant watching. It's about the possibility of being watched. That's what does the work.
Okay, so fast forward to today. What does the modern version look like? Well, it looks like this. The prison cells are our phones, our laptops, our smart speakers. And that central tower, it's the whole invisible network of data brokers and tech companies. We've basically built a digital panopticon, one that's way bigger and more efficient than Bentham could have ever dreamed of.
And the psychology behind it is exactly the same. You have no idea if your search history is being analyzed right this second, or if your likes are being used to build a political profile of you. And because you don't know, a tiny little pressure starts to build. You start to self-censor, to adjust your behavior, just in case someone, somewhere, is watching. So this whole system of mass data collection, that's the foundation. But now, with the explosion of artificial intelligence, we're building new things on top of that foundation. And the threats are getting way, way more personal. And frankly, a lot scarier. Let me just walk you through one of the newest scams. First, a scammer finds just a few seconds of your voice online, maybe from an Instagram story, a TikTok, whatever. Second, they feed that clip into an AI model that learns to replicate your voice, your tone, your cadence, everything. Third, they use that perfectly cloned voice to call someone you love, like your mom or your grandpa. And fourth, they fake some terrible emergency, a car crash, a kidnapping, to create this massive sense of urgency and panic them into sending money right away.
So what in the world do you do about this? Okay, first, just be a little more mindful of how much audio of yourself is floating around out there. But most importantly, if you get a call that feels even a little bit off, even if it sounds exactly like someone you know, just hang up right away. Then call them back on the number you have for them or send a text. Scammers want you to act fast without thinking, so if there's extreme urgency, that's a huge red flag. Always trust your gut.
These kinds of individual scams are really just symptoms of a much bigger issue. The technology is just moving at light speed, and our laws, our ethics, they are struggling to keep up. It brings up that age-old question, right? Who guards the guards?
At the heart of it all is this fundamental mismatch. On one side, you have our privacy laws. In places like the US, it's a total patchwork. There's a law for health data, another for your finances, but huge gaps everywhere else. And they have these massive loopholes for de-identified data. Then on the other side, you have the technology. This seamless global network of invisible companies using black box algorithms that nobody can really explain. The two systems just don't speak the same language.
So we end up right back where we started, in a world where a store knows you're pregnant before your family does, and where a scammer can literally steal your voice from a social media post. That question that Bentham was trying to answer with his prison design is more urgent than it has ever been. In this world of invisible, all-seeing surveillance, who is watching the watchers, and who is holding them accountable? Let's